Hello everybody, welcome to my channel or welcome back. Guess what? We got something so cute, so cool, so sweet. Sweet, yes it is sweet. For you this week that you are going to be mind blown. It's going to be like kabow, bow, 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 okay? But let's not fool around. Let's get into this thing. Let me show you what I did and how I did it. Okay, we're going to start our project off with these two pieces of scrap wood. Now this one is like a cut off piece of 2x3 that I glued two pieces together and then puttied around the seams. Or if you want to have yours a little bit more rounded, you could cut off the edges and round them in some way, maybe using a jigsaw or something. I like it just rectangular, and you'll see how it turns out. And this piece is a little thick, so I'm going to run it through the planer to take it down to about maybe 1/4 inch thick, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, I've sanded this piece down, got it all smooth on the edges. I rounded all the edges, and I also rounded the corners. Now I planed this piece down like I said I was going to do, but I figured out that I needed it to be narrower than it was, so I ran it through the table saw and cut off a little strip. Now I've placed the line here and here because I want this piece and this piece and use them in our project, and I'm going to discard this piece. Because this is a used scrap piece of wood, it's got these little brad nail holes in it. I'm going to patch them up because I just want it to look better than it does as far as holes. Okay, we have everything sanded. We have these sanded, we filled in the holes, I softened the edges and the corners on these two pieces, and now I freehanded this little oval right here on some of the scrap wood that's been thinned down, and I'm going to cut that out, and that's going to be our guy's nose. So now we're going to put holes in only one of these two rectangles. Not holes, but indentations, because we want this to look like graham cracker. The bottom one won't have holes or indentations because it's going to be covered, so only the top one will need it. So I think I'm going to draw a line down the middle like this, and I'm not going to try to be precise because just not. So on graham crackers, they usually have this kind of 5 holes, 5 indentations like around each other, sort of like this. Then I'm going to just keep doing it until I get to the bottom. It's not going to be perfect. If you want yours to be perfect, by all means. So I'm going to do the other side. I'm trying to line them up a little bit. I'm just eyeballing it because I don't feel like trying to be precise. I did this as a prototype earlier. I was trying to be precise. The precision did not come off very well, so why bother? So now I'm going to make indentations. I feel like I have way too many. I think this is 11/64 inch bit. And I put the tape on so only a tiny bit of the end of the bit will show, so that I know how deep I really want to go. I don't want to make a mistake and do a hole. I just want an indentation. None of my indentations are going to be exactly the same. It is what it is. If you have a drill press where you can come down exactly the same every time, more power to you. This is freehand. Where I want the spot, I'm going to press down a little bit just to give it a little indentation so that it won't necessarily slip around. Actually, that's pretty good. I'm going to go with that. Press. Let's do that. Press in. And just spin it around a couple times, and not really too much. Don't get carried away, because we're just putting indentations, not holes. Okay, and I hope you can see that. You'll see it better once I sand it and get it painted. But I'm going to do all the rest of these and be right back. I'm not entirely pleased how these holes came out. I tried to sand them as best I could. But what I did figure out is that I could just take the scissors, because this is soft pine wood, and just dig into the wood and twist it around, and make one of these indentations. So you actually don't even need to use the drill. But it's so hard to sand it out perfectly, and I'm not sure. Maybe I need some type of a tiny sanding drum. I don't have that, so if you have it, I'd say use it, because these are pretty raggedy. But we're just going to move forward. Now it's time for us to paint the pieces. So I'm going to be using white for the main body. I'm going to use candy apple red for the nose, and the two graham crackers will be a combination of chestnut and light mocha. Alright, there we go. Hopefully you can see. I feel like I kind of sanded away some of the indentions, but this is what we got. Now we're going to work on the face. So the first thing we're going to put on is the nose. And you want to put the nose closer toward the bottom of his face than the top, because you want to give room for the eyes and for the drips of chocolate on the front. So we're going to put it a little closer to the bottom of the face. So about, let's go right here. Okay, now I'm actually going to try putting on some lips. I'm not sure about this part. I think I'm going to have to do this the other way around, facing myself, so I do a good job of it. Let's go with something right here. I kind of want it a little off-centered, like that. And then we're going to just bring up some lines up here, like that. And we'll do, let's do the eyes. And put a line between the eyes up like this. I think I'm doing this a little too heavy. And then we want to do dotted lines from the end of the nose up to this line. My paint pen is just not cooperating very well. I forgot I wanted to outline the nose, give it a little black around the edge. Like that. Let's give our little marshmallow some rosy cheeks. Sort of like that. I worked on her lips a little bit and put like a line in between. The paint pen still isn't working very well over top paint, which has been a problem previously. But we're going to now move on to making the melted chocolate. Okay, so what I have here is some joint compound. I don't really need a lot, but I'm actually sure not how I'm not sure how much I need, so I'm probably going to get more than I need out of this bucket. So I guess that's enough. That's probably way more than enough. Now this joint compound is pretty thick and chunky, but we don't want that consistency. We want like a batter. We want a batter consistency. So I'm going to spray water on it until it loosens up enough that when I do this, it'll just drip off. Okay. Unfortunately, adding all this water to it makes it dry like 50 years. It takes 50 years to dry. So, but whatever, it works and I like it and it's cool. So I'm just going to keep working it with water, adding a little water, moving it around. See, it's getting there. See, it's still too thick because it's not necessarily going to drip much. You don't want it really runny, but you don't want it to be so clumpy that you can't get it to drip. You definitely want it to be able to drip over the sides of the marshmallow so it'll look like melted chocolate. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to add in, because like I could put it on the top of something and sort of encourage it to go over the side. You don't want it so drippy that it keeps running. So now I'm going to add the color to this, and I want a deep dark chocolate. I'm starting this out with this dark brown, and that would be nice and dark for a melted chocolate. The contrast is good. Unfortunately, once it gets mixed with this plaster, it's going to lighten up. So I have to keep working with it until I can get it at least a little dark. And at some points, and unfortunately as well, I don't have a whole lot of this, I don't have much of this dark brown left. So I'm going to have to try to add some other colors I have, along with maybe adding some black. I forgot to say that once you start adding paint, this stuff starts getting a little bit looser than you wanted it to be. But you could actually just, I guess, add more compound or let it sit for a little while. It will take forever to dry. You could also add like a navy blue in here, just a tiny bit instead of the black. I'm going to keep adding colors until I get this where I want it, because right now it's hideous. I found this burnt sienna. It's like a really deep brown. So I'm going to add that also to this little mixture and see if that can darken up this brown. Yeah, I like that. That's coming together. But you can see how it's getting really soupy. I think this is probably as dark as I'm going to coax this into getting. Okay, I added some navy blue, like I said, into here, and that helped it to get dark enough. I like that. See the contrast between this color and that. So that's actually good. I think that's as dark as I'm going to get it. And now we're ready to put the melted chocolate onto the bottom, not the one with the holes, but the bottom it's not a Pop-Tart, oh Lord, graham cracker. So just going to glop it on there. Come out to the edge a little bit. Still want it a little thick, because when you sit this top guy onto here, it's going to smash it down because it's still going to be soft. I mean, after 2 or 3 days, it's still going to be pretty soft because there's so much water in it. And so what you want to do is hover this above it to see if you've got enough of the chocolate out to the sides. So I want to kind of spread it out a little bit more. You want enough to show the chocolate, but not so much that you're going to cover all of the, whatever this thing is. See, so when you put it down, it's going to squish it down. What I end up doing is like putting the marshmallow toward the back so that you can see more of the chocolate out the front, okay? On the top of the marshmallow, we're going to spread some more of this. Oh man, I've already messed up. It's on this nose. Anyway, but you have to be careful, unlike me. And you want it to have a few like drips onto the forehead, but not so much that it drips right over his eyes. Just a tiny bit. You want wet drips to be more down the side, like this. Just a bit of drip there. And it's tricky. I mean, trying to get it to do what you want, because you don't want to overdo it. Let's try it. See, that's a good drip. And we don't want just one little drip here in the middle. So we try to get some more going up there. And I think if I have a little stick here, try to encourage it to be less puffed away from the edge. Like that. See that there? And then you just keep encouraging it to make drips. Okay, like that. And I'm just using a skinny little skewer to try to encourage more movement. Like this. Do that. That's okay, but it's a little puffy away from the edge. So then that's pretty good. And it doesn't need to be spread everywhere on the top, because, you know, when everything dries, you're going to be placing this on top. But now for the next 2 or 3 days or so, you just have to let this dry out. You could help it along with the heat gun to kind of be less tacky. But trust me, even though it'll be looking drier, you touch it, it's still wet. It takes forever. So we'll be back after we can assemble these guys together. I know I said 2 to 3 days for this to dry enough to where you could assemble it, but it's actually only been 24 hours. I don't know also why this cracked, because when I made this the first time, it didn't crack. But it doesn't really matter that it cracked right here because I'm covering it. It cracked also in a couple places on the top here. And again, I'm covering it, so it's okay. So I'm going to use this wood glue to glue it. Probably E6000 would work fine on this. I don't really need wood glue, but I don't want to look for my other glue. I'm not going to use hot glue because when I first did this, the melted chocolate was still a little, not quite what it should be, and it feels still a little soft. And when I tried to glue this together with hot glue, it just popped apart. But the wood glue held it fine, so that's what we're going to use. So before you put the glue on, you want to know where you're going to place it. Like I said, I think that I prefer it a little further back so that more of the chocolate at the front would show. So that's a good place. and then you would know where. Also, it might be a good idea if you painted the underside, but I'm not going to do that. And that which, so that's where we're going to do it. Pop a little glue on here. You don't need a lot. And then place it. Ooh, it's slipping around. And then there we go. And that's your completed project.